Inflation's at the top of everybody's minds and in almost every headline these days because it's a real thing. The price of groceries and gas and housing has risen astronomically. But are we finally getting ready to see a little bit of a reprieve? According to CNBC and Deseret News, inflation jumped in October 7.7%. which is the lowest jump we've seen since January, a hopeful sign that maybe inflation is starting to moderate. If inflation is 7.7%, what that means is if something last October cost $100, with an inflation rate of 7.7%, now it costs $107.70. In June, inflation hit its highest peak at 9.1%. Inflation is far from gone, however, and most of us are really feeling that in our day-to-day lives. In this chart from an article on CNBC, they listed the items that have been affected the most by inflation. And the top 5 were food at work or school, eggs, airline fare, butter or margarine, and public transportation. These have seen the highest increases thus far. Because even though the rate of inflation has slowed, it still means that prices are higher, they're just not rising quite as fast as some other months we've seen. It costs $107.70 for an item in October 2022 that cost $100 last October. If, for example, we saw that same 9.1% increase in June, then that same $100 item would be $109.10. So you can see the difference of prices are still higher, they're just not rising as fast as they were a few months ago. It's normal for prices to go up, but typically not this quickly. The US Federal Reserve aims to keep inflation at about 2%, and that shows a healthy, stable market. The drop that we just saw in October is hopefully a sign of an oncoming trend, but we're not out of the woods yet. In fact, according to Chief Financial Analyst at Bankrate, Greg McBride, he said any meaningful relief for household budgets is something that is still well over the horizon. He continued, I think this is something that will likely take much of 2023 to unfold if we're lucky. Some reason for optimism, but data seems to be pointing to the fact that we still have a long road ahead. Are you feeling the effects of inflation? Have you had to make any changes to your day-to-day life? Let's have a discussion in the comments because I want to hear what's happening. With inflation at the forefront of all of our minds and absolutely reflecting in the receipt at the grocery store, cost of living has really changed rather dramatically. And if you're in the Gainesville, Alachua County area, I've done a deep dive on exactly what has been changing with the cost of living here locally. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.